Fantasy football teams are left hanging by the uncertainty surrounding Rashee Rice's potential suspension, which looms large over the draft season. This news has cast a shadow over the Chiefs' offensive plans and fantasy managers' strategies alike. On Thursday, the NFL announced that a hearing would be held for Rice, the Chiefs' wide receiver, due to a serious traffic violation in Dallas last March. The exact timing and duration of his suspension remain unknown, leaving both the Chiefs and fantasy football enthusiasts in suspense. Here's what we currently know about Rice's situation. Rice pleaded guilty to 2 felony charges and received a sentence of 5 years of probation and 30 days in jail. He also reached settlements with all the victims involved in the crash. The NFL, however, has its own set of standards outlined in the personal conduct policy, which is part of every player's contract. Violations of this policy can result in suspensions. Judge Sue L. Robinson will preside over Rice's case, but the hearing won't take place until after the NFL season begins on September 30th. This suggests that Rice will likely start the season on the Chiefs' active roster. This initial period is crucial for the Chiefs. Rice will be available for the first 4 weeks, including high-stakes matchups against the Chargers in Brazil, the Eagles at home, the Giants away, and the Ravens at home. These games include 2 major AFC contests and a Super Bowl rematch. However, everything changes after Week 4. Here are some key points about Judge Robinson. She previously handled the Deshaun Watson case, ruling on it over a month after the hearing. If a similar timeline is followed, we might not hear a decision until around Halloween, which is Week 9 of the NFL season. After Robinson recommended a 6-game suspension for Watson, the NFL and the NFL Players Association negotiated a longer 11-game suspension with a $5 million fine. While Robinson's previous ruling took a while, the evidence in Rice's case is clear, and he has already admitted guilt. A quicker decision is possible, but a strong ruling could still lead to an appeal, potentially pushing the suspension further into the 2025 season, possibly even into December. The Chiefs' schedule after their Week 10 bye is also worth considering. They face 4 divisional matchups, including 2 against the Broncos. In their final 8 games, head coach Andy Reid would likely prefer to have Rice available for these critical matches. Underscore possible suspension scenarios. Best case scenario, no suspension at all, which is highly unlikely given the circumstances. Next best case scenario, a suspension of 5 or fewer games covering the Chiefs' games between weeks 5 and 9. Most likely scenario, a 6 to 8 game suspension, which would keep Rice out until the Week 10 bye but allow him to return before the end of the regular season. For example, his last missed game could be the Thanksgiving matchup in Dallas, a game that might be seen as too soon for his return. Worst case scenario, an extended suspension of more than 8 games, rendering Rice irrelevant for the remainder of the regular season. The timing of the ruling and any potential appeals add another layer of uncertainty. You might have Rice for the first 4 weeks and the last 7, or the first 4 and the last 4, or any other combination. Drafting Rashee Rice in fantasy football. The announcement of the upcoming hearing shouldn't excite fantasy managers. If anything, it makes Rice a riskier pick. You can expect him to be available for the first 4 weeks of the season, and hopefully he'll be back for the fantasy playoffs. Given these expectations, Rice's current average draft position at around 70th overall seems reasonable. However, comparing him to other receivers who aren't facing suspension, like Jordan Addison, who will miss the first 3 games, might make you lean towards a safer option. Addison and Rice complement each other well, as Rice starts the season and Addison returns in Week 4, potentially giving you 2 solid options for the fantasy playoffs. However, you'll need to fill an extra roster spot with another receiver, which adds to the complexity. I've moved Rice down to the early 7th round. While he has significant upside, the hassle of managing his suspension isn't worth a higher draft pick. Other Chiefs players, like Marquise Brown and Jalen Royals, might see increased opportunities during Rice's absence, but drafting them solely based on this assumption is risky. Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce could also see more targets, but their value depends on the timing and length of Rice's suspension. Let's hope for a swift decision from Judge Robinson and the NFL. At least we won't be left in limbo for too long if the process is expedited.